Are you recording? Are you rolling? I just want to make sure that's on record.
We actually got some really funny off-on-camera remarks from Jackson, which we haven't put online, about his remarks on the Zimbabwean elections and expats, but whatever.
Jackson.
You happy?
Yep.
Cool. So you mentioned the state and state inefficiencies, double taxation, and there's also then the question of the organization of the state. What specific proposals would you say we need to introduce at a local government, provincial government, or national level, whether those be to remove different tiers of government or to readjust powers in order to make the state more efficient and in order to get the state to a point where it's capable of efficient delivery?
I mean, there are multiple variables. I mean, I always like to use the cricket analogy that says sometimes before you can judge the quality of a pitch, you must allow both teams to bat on it. And at the moment, we've looked at the last 20 years under one team, and we're assuming that the world is like that. And I often wonder whether within the same rules, whether if you took on a different team, whether the outcomes might be different. So before trying to re-engineer an organization, sometimes we need to make the decision. And that's why I think one of the fundamental critical aspects of democratic empowerment and state capacity is democratic change, because it holds governments to account and it lets the systems, regardless of how wrong the rules are, but it lets those who are implementing the rules know that they have to apply the rules themselves. On a secondary point, which is to ask the question, how do we readjust the tiers of government in a way? I think, linked on to the first point, is that part of your problem is that the state does not always attract the best people to work in it because of issues like cadre deployment and cadre promotion. We've got to be able to allow, when you talk about the professionalization of state, that in fact institutions of government must then be able to account better by being able to hire the best people. That builds the best institutional processes that go. And that strengthens all the various tiers of government. I think the other critical issue is to ask the question about electoral reform. Because when we have a sense of electoral reform, I can elect Mmusi Maimane. Know that Mmusi Maimane comes from this community. He holds this community to account. That community has their issues represented by him. And if he doesn't deliver, that community can then take my money out. That's one of the ways of making sure that, in fact, at all tiers of government, however imperfect, there's always still accountability. And then ultimately, the discussion about provinces and how the alignment of those, really, I think at this stage is a non-discussion. Because I think that it's critical that we have provinces that are performing well. And I think when at the mature stage of our democracy, we can consider the reform of the of the structure of government. But in the meantime, I think we must be able to capacitate the state better. We must be able to hold it to account. And then I think what we've got to do, and that's one of the things that I'm very committed to doing here in Gauteng, is that sitting within the Premier's office, you need an institutional body that can actually fight corruption in government. Because what you often find is that there are weak institutions, therefore corruption thrives. There are poor administrators, so that when you're investigating a case, technicalities get in the way and people get away with it. And then you've got to make sure that that capacity is in place so that you can police better. And then people don't feel like corruption is rewarded by promotion.
Talking about this idea of maturing democracy, obviously it's quite a debatable subject. Some people saying that